Today, I will be reading the mysterious thriller called The Ominous Sound of Stiletto Hills, written by author Erika M. Szabo. I'll be reading an excerpt from the What If Anthology, Book 3. Sarah, a 16-year-old brunette with an athletic physique, was a new student at Hillcrest boarding school. She wasn't happy to leave her friends behind, but her father insisted on moving her to a more prestigious school. The last 2 years are the most critical before continuing your education, he said. And Hillcrest is the finest. Nearly all of their students get into reputable universities. Her parents were impressed by Madame Chloe, the school principal, especially her mother, who embraced her role as a socialite in high society circles. At their meeting, Madame Chloe dressed impeccably in expensive and fashionable name-brand outfits, and the way she presented herself and the school's achievements instantly won them over. At first, Sarah found the principal charming as well. However, as the conversation progressed, the way Madame Chloe's eyes darted to her and scanned her entire body made her uncomfortable. Despite the flashing of those dark eyes, only lasted for a split second, Sarah sensed something sinister behind the pleasant exterior of the woman's lovely smile, pristine clothes, manicured nails, and flawless hairstyle. Sarah always listened to her gut feelings and begged her parents not to make her change schools. But her parents, visibly mesmerized by the principal's performance, made their final decision, despite Sarah's weak objections. "You know nothing about life. Gut feelings are not reliable," her mother shouted. "The school's reputation is impeccable. You're going to be a student there, and that's final." Sarah gave in and hesitantly accepted her parents' decision and moved into her new school's dorm at Hillcrest. Knowing that every school has its social hierarchy, she thought she would need some time to fit in and catch up. However, it soon became apparent that this school was quite different from others. There was no hierarchy among teachers or students. There were subordinates and only one top dog, the principal and the history professor, Madame Chloe. Her authority and dominance were obvious as she walked in her signature bright red stiletto heel shoes, her cold eyes darting from student to student. The sound of those heels in the hallways would quiet the students and even the fellow teachers. When she walked past, a chill filled the air. Sarah couldn't help but wonder what it was to have that kind of authority and influence over so many people. Madame Chloe ruled with an iron fist, and Sarah soon heard rumors that her physical fist brutally had broken several bones over the years. Students had no one to report the physical abuse to, and unfortunately, by the time they were allowed to see their parents, the injuries had healed. Because of the school's reputation and the highly respected principal's words against the students, people just dismissed the complaints as childish rumors. The injured students had no proof. Although Sarah had a hard time keeping her rebellious nature under control, she kept quiet while keeping her eyes and her ears open. Until about 2 weeks into the school year, she stood by her locker across from Madame Chloe's office when she saw a classmate, petite blonde girl, staggering out of the room. Vera sobbed, pressing her hand to her side, visibly in pain. Sarah followed her into the bathroom, where the two girls stood by the sink and hugged the crying girl. "You'll be all right, Kate," a dark-skinned, statuesque girl whispered, wiping Vera's tears. "I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore," Vera cried. "This was the 3rd time this week, and she didn't even tell me why I deserve such a harsh punishment. My leg is still bruised where she kicked me 2 days ago." She rolled down her knee-high socks. She gasped and stood up, her face contorting in pain. She held her side. I think she broke my ribs this time, she sobbed. Mary, a plump redhead, huffed. She's a cruel sadist. She yanked my hair so hard yesterday that she pulled out a strand, and my scalp bled all afternoon. All because when this monster said, "Eyes on your books." I looked at Vera. Why doesn't anyone do anything about this? Sarah asked, closely watching the group's reaction. Well, what can we do? We can't prove anything. Kate shrugged despairingly, tears flowing down her cheeks. Nobody believes us, not even our parents. Well, what about the teachers? Sarah questioned. Mary shook her curly hair. They don't know what's happening, but are too scared to say anything. The only teacher who was brave enough to gather evidence against this monster disappeared before you got here. What do you mean about disappeared? Did she leave the school? Sarah asked. The three girls seemed to sense Sarah's authoritative yet compassionate nature opened up. Oh, no. Kate shivered and said, Miss Clara was in my room that night taking pictures of my bruised ribs and listened to the tape I recorded on a small device she gave me. I hid the recorder in my underwear and turned it on when I was ordered to Madame Chloe's room. She beat me so badly that day. The more I screamed and begged for her to stop, the more she hit me. Just remembering her face, how much she enjoyed watching me wiggle in pain, and the obscenities coming out of her painted mouth made me nauseous. We never saw Miss Clara again, and those who dared to ask either were ignored by the teachers or got a severe beating from that red shoe monster, Mary added. I swear I'm never going to wear red shoes as long as I live. Did she treat every student like this? Sarah asked. Oh, no, Vera sighed. She picks her targets very carefully, and the three of us are the ones who take the brunt of her punishment. Well, what do you mean by that? We all come from poor, broken families, and the only way we could be students here is because we're exceptionally smart. We were picked by our old schools as Good Samaritan rich sponsors who paid our tuition that we would pay back with loyalty and dedicated work later, Kate whispered with tears in her eyes. But Sarah sensed sarcasm behind her words. My mother is so blinded by the opportunity, she never had that no matter what I tell her about the abuse. She finds excuses and just shuts me up. Just keep quiet. It's your future, she always says. That's terrible, Sarah cried out. She should listen to you and protect you. Easy for you to say, Vera snapped. My mother is just a lowly cleaning woman, not a duchess like yours. Nobody would believe her if she complained to the authorities. And if she took me home without my sponsor's money, I wouldn't have the opportunity to get a high-quality education. That monster knows exactly who to pick to live out her sick fantasies on. She never picks kids from influential, rich families. Oh, I'm so sorry. We can't let her get away with this. We must stop that pervert. Sarah scanned the girls' faces. And why would you help us? Mary asked with doubt in her voice. Nobody should be treated like this, Sarah angrily replied. You're all smarter and more talented than me. You shouldn't have to suffer for the education my parents' money can buy. The group stared at Sarah with hope in her eyes when the bell rang. Okay, let's get back to class and play the role of the most diligent and obedient students. Tell me everything you know when we have a chance to talk again in private. And we'll come up with a plan to stop her. When we have enough evidence, I'll talk to my godfather. His law firm is the biggest and most influential in the country. The trio listened to Sarah with hopeful smiles. Kate said, well, the best place to talk is the library because nobody spends time there unless they really have to. It stinks there, and nobody really knows why, Kate said, wrinkling her nose. Everyone agreed, and the next day, during the long recess, they met in the library. They chose a secluded corner where nobody could overhear them. Gosh, it stinks in here, Mary grimaced. No wonder we're the only ones here. The four girls sat close to each other. I don't care about the smell, Sarah whispered. At least we can talk without anybody disturbing us. What do you know about Miss Clara's disappearance? Did anyone see her after she left Kate's room? She asked. Vera whispered back. Well, a girl in my French class told me that she saw Madame Chloe and Miss Clara walking down the hall late at night when she was coming back from the bathroom. She wondered what they were doing in the dorm so late. She considered following them, but was too scared to be seen by the principal, so she closed the door. If you enjoyed this excerpt, you can enjoy the rest of the story along with other multi-genre tales in the What If Anthology 3, brought to you by the Golden Box Book Pub Writers.